Good morning, everybody. I'm here to present the 7 secrets to success at home and at work for you today. And we'll start with, we're going to keep it kind of informal. So we'll start with my credentials as your speaker today. I'm going to be your informant. The picture you're looking at on the screen is actually me, myself, my family. If you're counting, you will see that those are indeed 6 little children. And, well, let's go back to that. Let's see. Well, I guess you're all done seeing my children, huh? Gotta love it when you've got technical glitches going on. There are actually 7 secrets that I've discovered over the course of 9 years working online. I've been obviously a working mother for much longer, for almost 15 years, but I've been working online with WorkingMom.com for the last 9 years, and we had essentially a 3.5-year learning curve before we were in any way productive. And over the course of that time, 7 secrets kind of emerged as things that I wish I had known from the outset before I even had children, and that's what I'm going to share with you guys today. Let's see. Okay, the first secret, this is secret number 1, and it is mentors. These are your people that you learn from. These are typically, when you think of a mentor, people envision a wizened elder statesman with the graying temples who sits and, shares pearls of wisdom with you that help you along with your career. That may or may not be a mentor, but these are more like your support system. These are the people that are your inner circle. And professionally, these are the people that will provide help, guidance, assistance, and support, kind of a roadmap of which way to go. I'll give you an example. In our industry, these would be industry leaders. To bring the point home and to illustrate exactly what I mean, recently we had a situation develop with my own business where I had an account that we've managed successfully for about 6 or 7 years. And this is a multi-million-dollar account. They recently had switched over to a new OPM who was going to manage the account. And somehow, this is something that happens all the time for anybody who's in our industry, somehow when this switch happened, all the links were changed. So the offers that I was describing on my page, when people would click, they would discover something entirely different. And I had a quandary. Would I pull all the links, yank down the page? Because my biggest fear, aside from disappointing customers, my biggest fear was that the few minutes while this was all skewed, that Google or one of the searches would run the spider through and find that we were kind of delivering false promises and somehow slam our site. That's, the big fear. So I had tried to reach out to the brand new OPM firm, no success. I tried email, phone. I tried every manner of speaking to reach them to ask either for functional links or I was going to have to yank the page down. No response. And I decided to post a relatively cryptic message on Facebook, just saying, I'm dealing with a pain in the neck account. Somebody talked me off the ledge. And one of the people who turns out is a great mentor got back to me, my phone rang, within 2 minutes. And he wanted to know what this account was, who these people were, and if he could possibly help. Now, he in no way was related to this account or to me. He didn't manage it or anything, but he happened to know somebody who knew somebody over there. And by the close of business that day, that account was fixed, the links were functioning, and everything was basically saved. And this is an account. We're talking a multi-million-dollar account that almost was thrown out of the water. Why did he do that? Because I'm such a great person? Because he's paid to be a mentor? No, he's a person who's in the know that helps. How do you meet these kind of mentors and industry leaders in the first place? They usually start with somebody that you're working with now, whether they're managing a small indie account or they're somebody that you work with in some capacity now. When they leave to go to a different job or they are promoted, do not lose track of those people. They already know you. You already have a track record with them. They know your strengths and they know what you can do. So when they're in a new capacity, they can still serve as mentors to you. That is an important secret in this business, is to maintain your contacts with industry leaders. Incidentally, does anybody want to know the name of that guy who totally stepped out, saved the account, and basically got nothing? Show of hands. Greg Hoffman. He's somebody, if you don't know him yet, you want to get to know him. Write that name down. The next example, as I mentioned to you, was keeping in touch with people who manage small accounts that you may be working with online currently. There's one guy, and this relationship goes back now 9 or so years. And the first product that we worked with was a small product, but it did okay, and we did pretty well with it. He suggested a few months later, we have another product that we offer. I really think this might be a good fit for your demographic. And at the time, I needed some editorial filler, so I said, all right, I'll take a look at it and I'll write a review. That one did well. A few weeks later, he had something else, and he said, I know that this isn't normally what you guys do. You guys do a lot of time management savings, but I really think working moms might like this. 3 for 3. He called me maybe a year or so later, and he said, I've got something that I think might be a really good fit for you guys. Do you know that this particular person, who has gone through many different companies, is 4 out of 4 times he has ever told me to write, review, or promote something, it has made money for me, for the merchant, and it has made the customers happy. This guy's batting 1,000. If he called me right now and said, I have got something for you, how many people think that it would be wise for me to take what he says seriously? Yes. So these are the kind of people that you want to keep tabs on. Pay attention to who is making recommendations to you that actually work to further your bottom line as well as merchants. And that young man, his name is Rick Gardner. If you don't know Rick Gardner, then you want him to know you. So that's one secret. Of course, there's friends and family, which cannot be underestimated. The whole reason any of us are here in this conference room right now is because we've got friends and family that are supporting us and have made it possible for us to even be in this industry. Right now, the 6 children that you briefly saw on the slide, they're being taken care of by a whole host of a small community enabling us to do what we do. Don't forget that you need them. That's another secret. And lastly, there are the experts. These are the Stephen Coveys, the Zig Ziglar, motivational speaker, professional writers who write about business and write about sales. Dale Carnegie. If you haven't read any of their books, if you haven't taken any of their seminars, you really need to. It's going to improve your ability to actually deliver something, even though you're delivering through an online medium. So learn from the industry leaders, keep in touch with them. Don't forget about your friends and family because you need them to be successful, and of course, the experts. Second secret. Streamline and focus your resources. You only have 24 hours in a day, and you have limited time. You're going to eliminate the extraneous. You need to know what's important. When I say what's important, what I mean is what's important to your bottom line. Things that are important like getting the spelling right in your tag, title, and description. Does anybody think that's kind of important when you're working? Sure. SEO, that's important. Product placement, negotiating a good contract, tweaking your conversion rate so that your readers to sales is high. Those are the important things. If you are majoring in the minors, as in worried about the style, the background color, what image is going to go on the side, these are important. They're slightly important, but they're not vitally important. And if you're combining work plus you're combining family, you don't have the extra time to devote to things that are not high-tier importance. Know what the high-tier important things are in your business and focus on those. Reduce the time that you spend on things that are not important. I understand SEO is not fun, or like they say, this is not exciting, but it is what's important, and you need to kind of know what's important to your business. Lastly, focus on your own core values. Your core values are important to you. These are the things that don't change. I'm not talking about like, I have a core value called, I like to have food on the table. Yeah, that's not quite it. You want to know what it is that moves you, be it knowledge of your subject matter or your niche that you're pitching to. These are the things that are going to guide you when the revenue is down, when the stress is high, when the children need you, and you've already promised that you'd have something to a merchant at the close of business. Those are the times when you need to go by your core values and say, what's really most important? Hopefully, all of us will choose family and say, if the children need me, let me see about meeting their needs. Let me see what I can do to make this deadline or move this deadline. Is there a time when I can do this that is better suited? So keep in mind your core values. That's the last of the secret 2 to streamlining. Moving on to secret 3, delegate. Who does what? This is probably, when I'm speaking with working moms, this is probably one of the most hot button topics that we cover, and that is the division of labor. It seems that, especially in our industry, because most of us, does everybody here have a home office that they work out of? Okay, great. It seems that, why is this blank? It seems that figuring out how you can get everything done in light of the fact that you've got a lot on your plate is a big challenge for people. I'm going to show you a picture of something that has never really been seen before. This is a picture of my teenage son folding laundry. That's right, outsource. You want to outsource what you can. During the day, while you're working, you need to put your kids to work. And the reason I'm telling you to put your children to work is simple. It's for their own good. Furthermore, you need it. I'm going to give you an anecdote of how this all played out for us just recently. We had come back from vacation to discover that our water was not working at our house. Apparently, the well pump had broken in our absence, which meant that we couldn't stay at home, obviously with no water and 8 people. We had to find somewhere to go. So like anybody would do under the circumstances, when the tough get going, when the going gets tough, the tough go to grandma's. And that's what we did. Now, I had deadlines. I had promised people editorial, oh yes, I will write this review of your product and I'll do this and it'll be sent out to everybody and their older brother. So I had deadlines to make. Furthermore, because the water was broken, my husband had to stay and fix it with all the people who were fixing it. He couldn't just leave the house. So I suddenly had much less childcare. What was I going to do? Work had to happen, otherwise I'd be in breach of contract. And it was the dead of summer, and we all squeezed into a little 3-bedroom house with my mother. And what were we going to do? This is when we discovered teamwork. I pulled aside my oldest 2 children, who are 14 and 12, and we had a heart-to-heart. I explained to them that there was no way possible that mommy alone could do her job, cook for 8 people, clean up after the little ones, keep up with the laundry, wash the dishes, and keep them all entertained. And I didn't think it was fair that we asked their 70-year-old grandmother to do all that so that I could work. What I did was I printed out, and we have these available for free on WorkingMom.com. You don't have to register or anything. I printed out daily to-do lists for each child. And on that to-do list, some of it was fun topics like free play or hug your mom or something like that. But there were tasks assigned like laundry, and not just put it in the machine or put it in the dryer. They were going to be, each one had their assignment to fold, to put away, to wash laundry. The other one was responsible for breakfast, clean up, preparation, showed them how to watch the clock and look at the timer and have meals on the table and clean up. It was a part of their growing up. Ladies and gentlemen, let me assure you, You are not doing a disservice to your children when you require them to do chores. Just because you can work outside your home does not mean you need to be doing the lion's share of work. If you don't have children yet, keep this in mind. You're doing them a favor, because nothing is worse than grown-ups who have been silver spoon fed and are not at all accustomed to serving without pay and meeting the needs of others. Chores are something you do for your children, not to your children. And if you need any help on chores, please look on our site. We have an age-appropriate chore chart that breaks down approximate ages of what children can do, 2-year-olds, 3- and 4-year-olds, etc. So you're going to outsource a lot of your work to your built-in team called your kids. But as someone who has been very happily married for 18 years, may I just offer some free marital advice? Don't try to boss your spouse. Learn that. Okay. Secret 4. This is multitask. You want to increase your output. This is your productivity overall. You can get more done in less time. And this is one of the beauties of our industry and working the kinds of jobs that we do. Everybody's done this before, typed with one hand, child on one hip, trying to get things done. This is not ideal. You're going to not type as fast or as well, and you're not really going to be taking care of the child as well as you could be. So keep in mind, no child care is unequal to child care. And that's a tough one, because if you're home, you may be thinking, I could save money and I could spend more time with my children. But what you really need to do is you need to have childcare so that you can focus on getting your work actually done on a high level. Appliances increases your productivity. The kinds of appliances I'm talking about are when you get up in the morning, if you've got a robotic vacuum doing your floors, if you've got a load of laundry going, if you've got food in the crock pot, if you've got your coffee maker running, you can be working and focused on the work at hand, but you can be getting a lot done at home. Make use of the appliances that you have in such a way that they're almost always running while you're at work. Because then when your children are home, you're not doing cooking, you're not doing cleaning, it's all about spending time with them. Lastly, automate tech. There's never been a data feed that I haven't liked, and that's important. Autoresponders, utilize those. If you're not putting those to work for you and you're doing everything manually, or worse, outsourcing it and paying somebody to enter stuff manually, you're missing the ball. You can get a whole lot more done if you'll just take the time to utilize and learn how to use some of the tools that are already there at your disposal. Almost every one of the major networks offers data feeds on products you're probably already either promoting or products of yours that could be promoted. So data feeds can be your best friend and increase your output exponentially. Secret 5, stand out. This is your reputation. I'm going to encourage you to make a name for yourself. Know your strengths. This is the part where I'd like to ask you to take just 2 minutes to write down on a piece of paper 3 things about yourself that are strong. You need to know this, especially at a conference like this, so that when you run into somebody, you'll know what your strengths are. As for me personally, my strengths happen to be communication. I can write well, I can speak reasonably well, and I can do it in several languages. I've also been a sales representative for over 30 years. If not pharmaceutical sales, then online sales or health insurance sales. These are my particular strengths. Know them. Know your strengths. So I'm going to just give you a quick second to jot something down, because this is going to help you with the rest of the conference. If you know what your strengths are, be it organizational ability, or be it technical acumen, or it could be insight into your own particular niche. You need to know your strengths. Well, I said I'd give you 2 minutes, but I saw people were writing as I spoke, so. This is something I would encourage you not to forget to do, because you need to know what you're good at. Next, showcase them. Work within your strengths. If you're good at something, that's what you need to be doing, and that's what you need front and center, not only to your potential customers and the people who you work with, but this is something that'll really increase your ability to enjoy what you do for a living. Lastly, either be first or be best. When we launched WorkingMom.com, there were very few resources for employed parents at all on the website. On the web in total. So either be the first to reach out to a niche or be the best at it. This will make you so much more successful than you can possibly imagine. So if you can't be the best at something, then find something you can be the first at, and that will increase your ability to be successful. Secret 6, set goals, plan ahead. Ready, aim, fire. And this is where you guys get a freebie for being here. 3 years ago, this is a personal anecdote. 3 years ago, we were expecting our 6th child, and I was over 40. I also had been diagnosed as a patient who had lupus. So being pregnant, being over 40, and having lupus, frankly, that's a life-threatening condition. And the sole support for our family was basically WorkingMom.com. I was scared. I didn't know whether or not I would survive, so it gave me an opportunity to do some soul searching, and that's when I decided I needed a business plan that I could leave for my husband. If something happened to me and I didn't make it out of the hospital trying to have the child, he would at least have a shot at running the business himself, or at the very least selling it. If you have work and family and you're the only one that knows how you make money in your family, you're doing a disservice to your family. You need a business plan. And I'm going to send anybody who gives me their business card, I will send you the template to the one that we used, which is kind of tweaked for online work or affiliate work. 80% of your revenue, generally speaking, will come from 20% of your contacts. So what we did with our business plan was I took the 20% that generated 80% of our revenue. I wrote out the contact names, the annual revenue for the past 3 years, how much we had made from that account, which keywords were the ones that were responsible for generating most of the revenue. I also wrote down inside of the, in the template, what the top 3 threats to the account were. Like, for example, if there had ever been a problem with that account in any way, it was chronicled there. And then what the top 3 opportunities were, ways that the account could potentially be grown going forward, and what my plans were. And then I went on down to the next. I also had the information to the control panel, access codes, anything that he would need to take over the business. I also had inside of this business plan who to share this with. You can't be given the keys to your business to anybody. And if I should happen to pass away having this child, don't take this business plan and just give it to somebody and say, hey, you want to buy this business? They won't need to. They'll have it. So some of the information is not proprietary. For example, someone who already works with you would know what your revenue is on that account. And somebody who works on your site with you would already know the access codes to go into the control panel of your main sites. That's okay. But in the business plan, there was information that he could have so that he could have a grasp of this if he needed one. Well, I'm happy to say, that's me and Goliath, by the way. I'm being David, the little, giant slayer. I did manage to survive having that last child, and the baby is fine, and so am I. However, we still have our business plan, and every year it's updated. You need a business plan. When you're talking to your merchants or when you're working with any of your network, if you can look at an account and say, these are the 3 things that I'm going to do next year on this account. I can do this, I can do this, and I can do this, and these are the resources that I'm going to need to make that happen. You're going to stand out. more than just stand out from your competition. It gives you a plan and an opportunity of where you can grow and how you can move forward. So that is oh yeah, so if you'll give me your card, I'll send you the template, and then you too can have a fancy business plan without having to almost die. Let's see. Moving on to the next one, bucket list. This is kind of a motivational tactic. You need a list of the things you actually want to do before you pass away. I know this sounds kind of morbid, but it's not. I had created on a whim the top 10 places I wanted to see in the continental United States. And I did this, probably I must have been in my early 20s, so we're talking a little while ago. And through that list, whenever there was an opportunity to go to one of the cities that was on the list, it suddenly was crystallized as a priority. It made life more livable. It totally gave us insight onto which way we wanted to go. So as a result, we did go to Niagara Falls because I'd never been there. I grew up, I was born literally a golf ball throw away from the Statue of Liberty and never gone. For my 30th birthday, that's where we went because I had this bucket list of things that I wanted to do. You need something like that because sometimes it is hard when you're working online. You can literally be all by yourself and have almost nothing to look forward to. Don't shoot yourself in the foot. Make sure that you have in front of you, or at least accessible, what it is you even want. That's going to keep you motivated through dark days or when everything is going wrong. But remember to stay flexible. There will be times when terms change and best laid plans of mice and men they just dissolve like snow. Google's going to update their algorithm. Everything is going to happen. And that's another secret. You want to make sure that you stay flexible in this industry. Just because something is going wrong doesn't mean you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Lastly, secret 7, replenish. R&R is VIP. I want to tell you an anecdotal story about a lumberjill. There was a woman who needed to earn money for her family, and the highest paid job she could possibly imagine was as a lumberjack. It paid 3 times more than anywhere else. Of course, being a lumberjack, you'd have to have some serious upper body strength, and they didn't just give those jobs away. So what she did was she applied, of course, and they kind of laughed at her. Everybody blew off the application. Yeah, I guess she would like to be a lumberjack. She kind of became an inside joke, but every week she would follow up, sending little notes and emails to the HR manager saying, oh, look what's going on in the industry. Well, finally, the lumberyard landed an account that would require double their production and quickly. So managers were called in from their desks, retirees were called back, everything about trying to get more trees. So at a meeting, somebody suggested tongue-in-cheek, let's call in Lumber Jill. Well, desperate times call for desperate measures, and they decided they'd hire her on a trial basis at 2/3 pay, since she didn't have any experience. She jumped at the opportunity, but when she was hired, the HR manager gave her a book with 10 rules of being a lumberjack, and she was expected to abide by them and know them at all times. She signed on the dotted line, sounded great. 6 o'clock in the morning, axe in hand, she's out there, and she's hammering at these trees. She's employing physics and tactics and special axes, while the other lumberjacks would take breaks at the water cooler, sharpen their axe. Lumberjill was working. At the end of the first week, the results were tabulated. #1 lumberjack was Lumberjill. Everybody was astonished. She was making people look bad. Second week, her production wasn't quite as high, but she was still among the top lumberjacks. Third week, middle of the pack, she decided she would start taking mega vitamins and work out at the gym for more upper body strength. But her production continued to decline until she was not only the worst lumberjack, but the worst one in their history. The HR manager called her into the office, and before he could say a word, she burst into tears saying, just a few weeks ago, I was your top lumberjack. Nobody works harder than me. I can't believe you'd call me into the office. Just give me a chance to come out of this slump. The HR manager pointed to the manual he had given her when she was hired and asked her what it was. She said, well, you know what it is. It's the rules of being a lumberjack. And none of those rules even mentions production. He asked her to open to rule number 4 and tell her what it said. She looked at the manual and it said, take regular breaks and use that break time to sharpen your axe. And it became clear to her in an instant. She had been in such a hurry to produce that she was trying to cut down trees with a dull axe, which is a nearly impossible task. I am here to tell you, in our industry, there is work you can be doing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Do not do it. You will get more done when you are rested and focused and sharp than you will ever get done in 7 days dull and sluggish. That is an important secret to long-term success and preventing burnout. Do have regular, periodic times when you turn it off and you unplug. I'm not talking about waiting until you just can't take it anymore and just need a vacation. I mean weekly, weekly, regular time that you spend rejuvenating, resting. You need to schedule this downtime, and it needs to be every single week, and take a day off from absolutely everything every week. My site is WorkingMom.com, where you will find the kids' to-do list that I'd mentioned in one of the earlier secrets of how to have success at home and work. My most recent book is called Moms on the Job, 7 Secrets to Success at Home and Work. And these are just a sampling of the free resources you can find on the site. No, you don't have to give me your email address or sign up or register for anything. This was created because I had already made it, and frankly, I needed it to be successful myself. So this concludes the presentation. I'll leave that up in case you want to. Does anybody have any questions? All right. Does anybody want to share with me any of their own particular strengths? I will give you something free if you get up.
What tools do you use to automate your daily work on the site, either on even accounting or knowing how much you sold, etc.?
The question was, what tools do I use to automate accounting and know how much I've sold on the site? Fortunately, most of the networks will provide that automatically for you. Networks like ShareASale, LinkShare, CJ, those are the ones that we work with primarily, and even some of the small individual accounts will actually send you just an email showing you your daily sales. What I do personally with that information is we put that into a spreadsheet, which is our 12-month, it's a month-by-month sales sheet, so that I can see which accounts have generated which revenue and I can manage the trends. That actually is in our business plan template. On the last page is the month-by-month sales. So that's how we track our revenue. Yes?
I appreciate your talk. It was really very helpful, and I can relate as a stay-at-home dad. So for
Thank you.
On your website, Working Mom, I can translate that to working parents. But you said eliminate the extraneous, which that's what I'm super new at affiliate marketing. So I'm really this summit is a real learning process for me, and it's like sensory overload, and it's great. So when I'm walking through the meat market and through the exhibition hall, and I'm seeing all of these different vendors and people, and I'm wondering, wow, who do I need? So when you said eliminate the extraneous, it's like, oh yeah, I don't know who I need, who I don't need. So what do you think is like a good place to start when knowing what's important? Like just for me getting started, It's really key, I think, what you said. Know what's important. Eliminate the extraneous. So can you elaborate a little bit on how I can, like, do that for myself?
Thank you for your kind words. And just so that you know, you're not the only one. The question was, what do you do with the sensory overload, and how do you know what's important and what to eliminate? Especially in a scenario like this where there is a lot coming at you and everybody wants you to promote their product or be a part of their team. How do you know? This is when you go back to your own core values, knowing what your niche is, what your personal goals are. I don't know your industry, but whatever it is, let's just say you're a scuba diving guy and that's your thing. Then you need to start by majoring in what it is you already know. If it's a scuba gear company that's out here, that's where you live. That's what you want to do. Set out what you want to cover over the next 12 months. Well, first, I want to talk about places to dive. Next, I want to talk about particular equipment. I also want to cover places that you can dive with your children that have childcare. Whatever it is, you need to have in your mind already set what your personal goals are. Now, there will be people that throw things at you sideways, like the guy I had mentioned before, Rick Gardner, who said, I know this isn't in your niche, but I think it would work, and he's been right 100% of the time. Once you have a relationship like that, you can kind of trust them to throw you curveballs, but until then, stay with what you know until you've got that rock solid, then start branching out. That would be my personal advice to you on how to eliminate the extraneous. Don't even put it in the first place if you're new. In a lot of ways, you're at an advantage over those of us who are seasoned. Any other questions? Yes.
When you maybe find out something that's not working, hit a dead end, have to change or diversify your portfolio, how do you invest the time and energy into something new or to learning new skills? And how do you say no with class to all the people asking questions of, can you do this?
Being organized is going to be your best bet in that kind of situation. I'll repeat the question. The question was, how do you make time to eliminate something that isn't working and then invest your time in trying to develop something that's new? And then consequently, how do you say no to somebody with class that wants you to do something? I would suggest if you have already planned out, at least in your mind, but hopefully on paper, your 2013 goals and kind of what you want to cover, you can schedule in time for product development and also what I call it parsing, where you cut out what isn't working. When someone approaches you with something that you might want to do but probably won't have time for or that probably shouldn't be a high-tier priority for them, you can confidently let them know that your itinerary and your schedule or your editorial or whatever has pretty much been set for 2013, but you'd like to take their information and you'll look at it going much further, looking at the next year. That way you can kind of decline them without it being personal, kind of let them know that you've already got this set up. But if you schedule, like this is the perfect time, you can schedule for yourself and say, I know that what I'm doing now, I need to dedicate at least a week and a half towards research and development and new skills. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to sign up for a class at my junior college on SEO because things have changed. You can do that knowing, if you start now, going towards the future. So that'll kind of help you keep up with your technical skills. It'll also help you preserve those relationships by not really saying no in the traditional sense of the word as much as saying no, how about we look at this later? And then really do follow up with them in 2014. Even if it's just a quick little email, we had discussed this, can you send me more information about that now? And people will respect that. That's an insightful question, thank you. Were there any other questions? Yes.
One more. So who are Greg Hoffman and Rick Gardner, and how do they relate to affiliate marketing?
The two of them happen to be OPMs. What does it stand for?
Outsource program management.
Thank you. Outsourced program managers. That means that they don't necessarily work for a widget maker or the maker of this, but they will work with a manufacturer or a vendor, and they will talk to, they'll also work with the affiliates and try to put people together, affiliates and merchants, that make sense and consequently maximize sales. A lot of merchants handle that stuff in-house. That's called an indie account. Or an individual account, where they have someone who is working for them exclusively, and their job is to work with affiliates. A lot of people who start out that way eventually will branch out and handle many more accounts on their own. So those two guys that I happen to know, that's what they do, and they really are worth knowing. Thank you. Anything else? Yes? Oh, you know what? That's a really good question. Mike?
Sometimes it says agency.
Yes. The question was, how do you find OPMs and how do you recognize them?
Bunch of guys walking around with hockey shirts on that are red. Oh, really? You can talk to them. They'll be able to take good care of you. They're called OPM pros. They're called
Okay.
OPM pros. They're from out of Canada. Very, very good. They've won numerous awards from Link Share to CJ. OPM pros.
OPM, okay. Wow, that was really good, because I was going to say, usually the OPMs find you, but when you're new, that's a good one. The question was how to find OPMs, and OPM pros with red shirts while we're here, as well as looking on their badges, and it'll say agency. If I were an OPM, it might say Sabrina Malone agency, but I'm not an OPM, so that's good for the whole world that I'm not. And did anyone else have any other questions? Well, thank you very much. Please remember, if you'd like a copy of our business plan template, I will send it to you. I'll email it to you. Just make sure to leave me your business card, and I'll get that to you by the end of the week. Thank you for coming, and appreciate it.